My wife Leah has the most beautiful blue eyes I have ever seen. From the very first moment we met, those ice blue marbles of hers knocked me off my feet. She always gets compliments whenever we go out, and her Instagram posts are never short on comments. I mention this because something truly bizarre began to happen shortly after we moved into our new home. A few months ago, we purchased a quaint Victorian fixer-upper on a small piece of countryside property. Nothing extravagant, just a couple of acres for the two of us to get some fresh air. Most of the land was taken up by a long, winding driveway in front of the house, so the acreage didn't really amount to much. I'm a fairly established editorial writer for an online media site, so my work can be done anywhere with electricity and stable Wi-Fi. Leah is a social media manager for a prominent construction company, and her work is entirely remote as well. Since we're both in our 30s with no children or offices tying us to the city, it seemed like the perfect time to escape the hustle and enjoy each other's company. A friend of a friend introduced us to a real estate agent who had recently sold their parents a vacation home. Soon after, the agent sent us a listing he thought would be perfect. A few days later, we were driving up the winding driveway to what would become our first real home together. The transition from cramped city apartments filled with sirens and artificial lights to the warm glow of a sunset view from a rocking chair on the back patio was breathtaking. The house was older and needed some fixing up, but from the moment we walked in, we both knew this is where we wanted to live. Once moved in, one of my favorite features became the expansive entryway. A remarkable stained glass window sat above the front door, and a decorative, ornate mirror was affixed to the wall beside it. Leah and I placed a rustic wooden credenza beneath the mirror as a spot for keys, wallets, and other essentials. It felt almost ceremonious to retrieve our keys from the bowl each time we left the house. I may sound theatrical, but the house made me feel a little like royalty. After a week, Leah had gotten into the habit of primping in front of the large mirror before we went out. I would patiently wait on the couch in the next room, admiring her as she adjusted her hair and inspected her reflection. That's when I first noticed something strange. One day, while waiting for her to finish getting ready, I was scrolling through emails on my phone. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Leah approach the mirror for her usual final checks. I looked up, asking if she was nearly ready. She rolled her stunning blue eyes at me with an annoyed smirk. I sighed, amused, and turned back to my phone. But just as I looked down, I noticed something odd. Have you ever seen something that doesn't quite register correctly in your mind? That was the feeling I got. I looked back up at the mirror, and my wife's reflection had emerald green eyes, not her usual blue. I shut my eyes tightly, wondering if my phone had somehow strained my vision. When I opened them again, the green eyes remained. I pointed it out to Leah, but she laughed it off, saying it was probably the sunlight filtering through the stained glass window above the door that tinted her reflection. I considered the possibility, but before I could press further, she turned to me, asking how she looked. Her dazzling blue eyes stared at me expectantly. Caught off guard, I complimented her, dismissing the bizarre moment, and we headed out. Over the next few weeks, the strange phenomenon continued. I noticed a stark difference in the color of her reflected eyes when she stopped to fix her hair or apply lipstick in the entryway mirror. I even checked my own reflection when she wasn't around. My eyes remained the same shade of brown they had always been. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, but life went on, and we settled into the house. Then one Friday morning, I woke up alone in our bed, which was unusual, since I was normally the first one up. I called out to Leah, but there was no answer. Wandering through the house, I realized I was truly alone. I considered calling her, but that's when I remembered Leah's father had recently gotten ill, and she had planned to visit him for the weekend. I had completely forgotten. I spent the weekend in my home office, writing, editing, and submitting work, losing myself so deeply that I didn't check my phone or confirm her return. By Sunday, I finally pulled myself away from the computer, realizing I hadn't heard from her all weekend. I checked my phone hoping for a message or voicemail. Nothing. I called a number and it went straight to voicemail. Concern grew. Leah never turned her phone off, especially while traveling alone. I then decided to call her father, hoping for an explanation. Maybe Leah had a broken phone or was running late. Instead, he sounded confused. He hadn't seen her all weekend. She hadn't visited as planned, and he assumed she was busy or unwell. Panic surged through me. If she hadn't gone to her father and wasn't answering her phone, who knew where she might be? I considered calling the police, mentally listing the places she could have gone. Then, the sound of keys turning in the front door snapped me out of my panic. My heart raced as the door swung open, and I ran downstairs to the familiar sound of her shoes on the entryway floor. I embraced her tightly, asking where she had been. She said she had gone to see her father, as she told me weeks ago. I paused, not just because of the lie, but because she was staring at me with two piercing green eyes. She said she was tired from a long trip and would head to bed early. I couldn't find my voice. I just nodded as she ascended the stairs. But just before she did, she stopped at the large mirror in the entryway. I froze as I saw her reflection. Bright blue eyes staring back instead of green. If you are based in the UK and would like to enjoy freshly batch roasted coffee delivered to your door, visit vitalcoffee.co.uk and use the coupon code mrfreakystory to get 10% off from all products. I will leave a link in the description below.